Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India Live, India's voice to the world with me, Deepika, coming up in the next 30 minutes. India's diplomatic outreach on Operation Sindoor begins. 2 of the 7 delegations will begin the journey to their respective destinations today. In Chhattisgarh, at least 26 Naxals killed in encounter with security forces in Narayanpur district. Encounter comes days after anti-Naxal operations in Karugatta Hills on Chhattisgarh-Telangana border that left 31 Naxals dead. US President Donald Trump unveils plans for $175 billion Golden Dome defense shield for the US, says it should be fully operational in 3 years. EU and Britain go ahead with new Russia sanctions without waiting for Donald Trump. Russia says it rejects ultimatums. Italian Prime Minister says Pope willing to host talks. Good afternoon to all our viewers joining us at this afternoon broadcast. To begin with the latest, after befitting reply to Pakistan's aggression with the successful conduct of Operation Sindoor, launched in the wake of dastardly Pahalgam terror attack, India will begin its diplomatic outreach to further expose Pakistan, which has been promoting terrorism as its state policy. Out of the 7 multi-party delegation formed to reach out to the international community on Pakistan's nefarious design and India's successful anti-terror operation, first 2 delegations will embark their journey today. The team, led by Janata Dal United leader Sanjay Jha, will be the first to leave. The delegation will travel to Indonesia, Malaysia, Republic of Korea, Japan and Singapore. The next will leave and the delegation will be led by Shiv Sena MP Shrikant Shinde. This team will travel to the UAE, the Democratic Republic of Congo, Sierra Leone and Liberia. Another 5 delegations will also begin their tour in the coming number of days. The delegations will visit a total number of 32 countries till the 5th of the next month, which is June, to present India's firm stand against Pakistan-sponsored terrorists. And to get you more on this, I'm joined by DD India correspondent from Newsroom, Akshay Dongre. Good afternoon, Akshay. What is the latest that you're tracking on this global outreach program?
Well, as far as the latest is concerned, the teams have been formulated and are already on the job as far as this global outreach is concerned. One team is going to Japan, another teams are going to the parts of West Asian countries. Several delegations and leaders are going to Europe and Americas as well. Now, all of this is being done, Deepika, as a massive outreach to the global community as far as these countries are concerned, especially those who are part of the United Nations Security Council, need to be made aware of all that is happening as far as India's Operation Sindoor is concerned and the retaliatory strikes that India conducted after Pakistan's misadventure. So the situation as far as the global outreach is concerned is quite critical as far as the building of a narrative is concerned. We have seen that soon after the operation was conducted, India made aware the entire world that so-and-so operation has been conducted and has clarified that the operation was only against the terror outfits, terror infrastructure and people who were threatening the lives of our civilians and our military installations along with other important parts of the country. Also, it came in the backdrop of the Pahalgam attack that was conducted by Pakistan-based terror outfits who were still operating from there, planning more sinister plans, and that is why neutralizing them was the only option India was left with. It's a global fight against terror, but it has been observed that only a few countries, especially those who are in the region, are taking most of the burden as far as taking the fight to the terrorists are concerned. It is a global issue. It's not that the terror attacks have only taken place in Southeast Asia or South Asia or the Middle East or West Asian part of the world. It has taken place in Europe, it has taken place in Japan, it has taken place in Americas, and that's why it's not India's fight alone. It's a fight for the world. If India turns a blind eye to the terror menace and only thinks about securing its own borders, then these terrorists will not only attack India but other countries as well, and that is what the global community has to understand as far as its fight against terror is concerned. Any kind of funding to Pakistan, any kind of getting swayed by Pakistani agenda is only done to provide a better environment for the terrorists and the terror outfits that are operating as part of Pakistan's foreign policy, as well as the military policy that they have of not only blackmailing other countries but also threatening other countries with these kind of cowardly terror attacks. So that is the crux of it. The teams will be making aware of all of the situation on the ground to the global community, especially those who are part of the United Nations Security Council and the countries who are going to be part of the United Nations Security Council's non-permanent members for the next tenure that will be starting from 2026. So the massive outreach by the Indian government has also left Pakistan stunned. It also is trying to replicate the same model and trying to formulate its own teams. But it has been seen that the global support is rapidly gathering behind the Indian side as far as their actions against these dastardly terrorists are concerned. Back to you.
Also, Akshay, for the benefit of our viewers, please help us giving an overview of the two delegations which will be leaving in the first round.
Well, the first delegation is leaving to Japan. It is leaving to other Southeast Asian countries. The second delegation is going to West Asia, which will have a majority of OIC countries, as well as the countries that are also victims of terrorism in that particular region, be it Saudi Arabia, the UAE, other nations that have been close allies of India. But when it comes to war on terror, there has been a concerted effort from Pakistani side to bring in communities and religion as far as the narrative is concerned. So that has also to be countered, and because of which the Indian delegations have been formed from all parties. It's not an agenda of the BJP government or an agenda of a political party. It's an agenda of the country, and the signal that India is sending that this is a committee that comprises of all the political parties, be it the opposition or the government, and that is a strong message of a united India fighting against terror to the world.
All right, thank you so much, Akshay, for joining us and bringing us the latest on this. Moving on, India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar expressed his gratitude for Denmark's solidarity in the fight against terrorism and for the warm reception he received upon his arrival in the Nordic country on Tuesday. The External Affairs Minister was received by Danish Prime Minister Mette Frederiksen, and key discussions focused on advancing the India-Denmark Green Strategic Partnership, which were held. Now, this underscored both the nations' commitment to deepening bilateral cooperation and addressing global challenges. Taking to social media platform X, Dr. S. Jaishankar said, and I quote him, "Thank Prime Minister Mette Frederiksen for warmly receiving me in Copenhagen this evening, conveyed the personal greetings of PM Narendra Modi. Thank Denmark for its solidarity and support in combating terrorism. Value PM Frederiksen's guidance to take forward a green strategic partnership and widen the canvas of our cooperation," unquote. India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar also held telephonic conversation with Foreign Minister of Bahrain Dr. Abdul Latif bin Rashid Al Zayani. The two leaders discussed the challenges posed by terrorism and the need to combat it resolutely. In a signified nationwide outreach effort, a Tiranga Yatra is being held in various parts of the country to honour the courage and sacrifice of Indian armed forces following the successful execution of Operation Sindoor in response to horrific Pahalgam terror attack. In Hyderabad, Tiranga Yatra was graced by Indian Army officers and veterans who led the rally with dignity and pride. Throughout the route, citizens showered flowers upon the marchers, offering a warm and heartfelt welcome. In Rajasthan, State Chief Minister Bhajanlal Sharma attended the Tiranga Yatra at Jaipur, with locals excitedly chanting patriotic slogans and showing unwavering support to the Indian Defence Forces for their bravery and sacrifice during Operation Sindoor. Speaker of the lower house of the Indian Parliament, Om Birla, attended Tiranga Yatra in Bundi, Rajasthan. The procession witnessed mass participation from people from all walks of life. They were seen carrying the tricolour and chanting patriotic slogans. And big news coming in from Chhattisgarh, where more than 26 Naxals have been killed in an encounter with security forces in Abu Jamad area of Narayanpur district on Wednesday morning. The operation by the district reserve guard is being carried out in the 4 districts of Narayanpur, Dantewada, Bijapur and Kundagaon. It was based on information that a senior Naxal leader was hiding in a specific area in Abu Jamad. DRG forces have recovered all the bodies and seized arms and ammunitions. One Jawan was also martyred in the gunfight. The big news comes less than a month after security forces undertook a major anti-Naxal operation codenamed Black Forest in and around Karagatala hills of Chhattisgarh Telangana border, killing 31 Naxals. Now on Tuesday evening, India's border security force troops on duty in the border area of Amritsar observed suspected movement of a person who crossed the IP and started approaching the border security fence. In a swift response, the troops challenged him to stop and subsequently apprehended him. The intruder revealed his identity as a Pakistani national. Upon searching, 330 Pakistani rupee currency was recovered from his possession. The apprehension took place in the border area adjacent to village Karimpura of district Amritsar. After initial questioning by the BSF and sister agencies, the Pakistani intruder has been handed over to local police for further investigation and to know about his motive for crossing the IP. Now, India has taken the path of rapid development in the Amrit Kal under the leadership of Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Prime Minister Modi will virtually inaugurate over 100 railway stations nationwide from northwest India's Bikaner on Thursday. Spread in 86 districts across 18 states and union territories, the upgraded railway stations will feature state-of-the-art infrastructure and facilities offering a world-class travel experience for the passengers. The Amrit Bharat Station scheme signifies a concerted effort by Indian Railways to modernize its infrastructure in order to elevate the travel experience for millions of passengers. Air India exclusively talked with Dr. Manjunath, who is the Chief Public Relations Officer for South Western Railway on Amrit Bharat stations. Take a listen.
On 22nd of this month, that's on Thursday, our Honorable Prime Minister, Sri Narendra Modi ji, is going to dedicate 103 stations, redeveloped stations as Amrit Bharat stations across India in all the zones, most of the zones. In 2023-24, Honorable Prime Minister laid the foundation stone for 1,300 stations for the redevelopment as Amrit Bharat stations. Among them, 103 stations are being dedicated to nation in first phase. Among 103 stations, 5 stations lie in the area of our Southwestern Railway.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi will inaugurate 6 stations of Bhavnagar division developed under Amrit Bharat station scheme on the 22nd of May. A total of 17 stations of Bhavnagar Railway Division are being redeveloped under Amrit Bharat Station Yojana.
वर्तमान में 6 स्टेशंस पे कार्य पूर्ण हो चुका है, जिनका लोकार्पण माननीय प्रधानमंत्री द्वारा 22 मई को किया जाएगा। इन स्टेशंस पर जो सुविधाएं हम लोगों ने दी हैं, मुख्यतः हम लोगों ने सर्कुलेटिंग एरिया इम्प्रूव किया है। दिव्यांगजनों के लिए ख़ास तौर से हम लोगों ने ध्यान रखा है कि उनको किसी तरह की दिक्कत ना हो। एडिशनल प्लेटफॉर्म्स की लंबाई जहां चाहिए थी वहां बढ़ाई है हम लोगों ने। प्लेटफॉर्म की ऊंचाई भी हम लोगों ने बढ़ाई है जहां ज़रूरत थी।
Maharashtra's Shahad railway station has become a new home to luxurious travel, what locals call it as a real success story. The station is now equipped with modern facilities under the Amrit Bharat station scheme. It caters to almost 30,000 passengers daily. The redeveloped station now has a covered platform, ramps connecting all the platforms, improving accessibility for all, including senior citizens and differently abled passengers. Indian Navy Chief Admiral Dinesh K. Tripathi interacted with the crew of Navika Sagar Parikrama II on board INS V. Tarini, having crossed over to the Northern Hemisphere and homeward bound on their final leg of the circumnavigation. Navika Sagar Parikrama II crew crossed into the Southern Hemisphere on the 16th of October last year, and after an epic global circumnavigation, they have re-entered the Northern Hemisphere on 19th of May this year. Indian Navy Chief commended their exemplary skills and team spirit and conveyed the pride and admiration of the Indian Navy and the entire nation following their progress.
For the last 8 months, you have made us, the Navy, the country proud. This journey of almost 40,000 kilometers, it is unprecedented. It is not over till it is finished. We look forward to welcoming you. Smiling duo, Dilru. Good luck and God bless. See you soon.
Time to take a short break. We'll be right back.
Politics and trade. Geopolitics and trade deals. Economic challenges amid development. Hard work and the path to prosperity. It's the economy always. Between walkers, money is what money does and says. Supply creates its own demand. Between the bulls pulls and bears tears. When supply chains globalization and India rises to the podium. We'll get you centered with the economic brief at 8 p.m. every Thursday on DD India.
Welcome back after that short break. You're watching DD India Live. Now, the United Nations said on Tuesday that no aid has yet been distributed in the Gaza Strip, a day after Israel allowed limited humanitarian deliveries to resume after an 11-week blockade. UN spokesperson Stephen Dujarric said 4 trucks of baby food were dropped off on the Palestinian side on the border on Monday, and that a few dozen trucks with other basic items entered Gaza on Tuesday. UN humanitarian chief Tom Fletcher said earlier that 14,000 babies would die in Gaza in the next 48 hours if aid supplies don't reach them. In response, Israel said around 108 trucks had been transferred to the Gaza Strip, and it plans to intensify military operations against Hamas and to control the whole of Gaza. The United Kingdom has paused trade negotiations with Israel over the country's aid blockade in Gaza. It comes after the UN warned 14,000 babies could die in the next 48 hours if the blockade of the enclave continues. British Foreign Secretary David Lammy said the threat of starvation is hanging over hundreds of thousands of civilians in Gaza. Addressing MPs, Lammy said the UK is suspending negotiations with the Israeli government on a new free trade agreement and is summoning the Israeli ambassador to the United Kingdom.
I'm announcing that we have suspended negotiations with this Israeli government on a new free trade agreement. We will be reviewing cooperation with them under the 2030 bilateral roadmap. The Netanyahu's government's actions have made this necessary. Madam Deputy Speaker, today, my honourable friend, the Minister for the Middle East, is summoning the Israeli ambassador to the Foreign Office to convey this message.
U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio on Tuesday insisted that the country is not withdrawing from the world as he batted away criticism of cuts to aid and diplomatic budgets from former colleagues in Congress. During a congressional hearing, Rubio had a tense exchange with Democratic Senator Chris Van Hollen, who expressed regret over previously supporting Rubio. In response to this, Rubio defended his performance, asserting that he is effectively fulfilling his duties.
And I have to tell you directly and personally that I regret voting for you for Secretary of State. I yield back.
Well, first of all, your regret for voting for me confirms I'm doing a good job.
U.S. President Donald Trump unveiled a $175 billion Golden Dome missile defense shield on Tuesday, naming Space Force General Michael Kirtland to lead the project. The system, involving hundreds of satellites, is designed to defend against threats from China and Russia. Speaking from the Oval Office, Trump said Canada expressed interest in joining the effort. The initiative faces political and financial hurdles, with scrutiny over the bidding process and concerns over SpaceX's role. Key defense contractors Palantir and Anduril are also contenders in building system components.
This design for the Golden Dome will integrate with our existing defense capabilities and should be fully operational before the end of my term. So we'll have it done in about 3 years. Once fully constructed, the Golden Dome will be capable of intercepting missiles even if they are launched from other sides of the world and even if they are launched from space. I'm also pleased to report that the One Big Beautiful Bill will include $25 billion for the Golden Dome to help construction get underway. That's the initial sort of a down deposit. And we have probably, you're talking about, General, we're talking about $175 billion total cost of this when it's completed.
Now, United Kingdom and Europe have announced major sanctions against Russia on Tuesday without waiting for Washington to join them, as it became clear that Monday's call between US President Donald Trump and Russian President Vladimir Putin had failed to deliver any meaningful concessions from Moscow. London and Brussels said their new measures would zero in on Moscow's shadow fleet of oil tankers and financial firms that have helped it avoid the impact of other sanctions imposed over the conflict. Taking to the social media post, Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky said it is important that America remain involved in the process of bringing peace closer. Trump had indicated on Monday, following his call with Putin, that the US was not ready to join European sanctions effort. Meanwhile, Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni said on Tuesday that Pope Leo had confirmed to her his willingness to host in the Vatican the next round of negotiations to try ending the conflict. Responding to the new sanctions, Russian Foreign Ministry spokeswoman Maria Zakharova accused Europe of trying to prevent the resumption of direct dialogue, adding that Russia never responds to ultimatums.
Immediately after the talks between Russian and Ukrainian delegations in Istanbul, Zelensky and his European buddies spoke in favor of strengthening of the anti-Russian sanctions. Yet again, they started to sing the old song about impossibility to trust Russia, which should be punished, as they put it, for the failure to obey ultimatum demand about 30-day ceasefire, which Kiev regime and its European sponsors tried to present as a certain step toward settlement. Russia never responds to ultimatums.
Однако у этих всех деятелей ничего не вышло.
Top finance ministers from the G7 nations gathered on Tuesday in Canada to address global economic instability with the Ukraine war and US trade policies under President Donald Trump high on the agenda. Ukrainian Finance Minister Sergei Marchenko attended the talks, seeking increased pressure on Russia and support for Ukraine's reconstruction. Canadian Finance Minister Francois-Philippe Champagne emphasized solidarity with Ukraine, while US Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent faces scrutiny over tariffs and inflation risks. Although not officially on the agenda, trade tensions are expected to shadow discussions. A final communique remains uncertain as members weigh differing priorities, particularly US demands. And now let's get you the latest action from the world of sports, to begin with shooting first. Shooter Adrian Karmakar opened India's medal tally at the ISSF Junior Shooting World Cup on Tuesday with a silver medal on debut in 50-meter rifle prone event. The 20-year-old junior national champion missed out on gold by just 0.3 points to Sweden's Jesper Johansson. Adrian delivered a stellar performance, emerging as one of the earliest finishers in the event. Adrian aggregated 626.7, setting a new junior national record in the event. Among the other Indian contenders, Rohit Kanyan finished 12th, while Vedant Nitin Vakmare ended in the 35th spot. In cricket, the Indian Cricket Board has announced that Indian Premier League Qualifier 2 and finale will take place in the western city of Ahmedabad on the 1st and 3rd of June, while New Chandigarh will stage Qualifier 1st on the 29th of May and the Eliminator on the 30th of May. The new venues for the playoffs were decided by the IPL Governing Council, keeping in mind the weather conditions and other parameters. Furthermore, with an eye on the monsoon season, the BCCI also decided to shift the 23rd of May fixture between RCB and SRH from Bengaluru to Lucknow. The tournament resumed on the May of 17th after a brief suspension due to the conflict between India and Pakistan at the border. And that's all for this edition of DD India Live. But do let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world via mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code on the screen to download it right now. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Deepika, and from all of us here in New Delhi, thank you so much for watching DD India Live. Namaskar.